I have a major bone to pick with Reese Witherspoon. Hi everybody, welcome back to SniderBeeBooks. This is my review for Movie Monday. So after my BookTube newbie tag video and my TBR video, I could tell that everybody wanted me to finish this book. It's In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. If you remember those videos, then you know that I didn't know much about this book when I originally purchased it. In fact, the major draw was this quote on the front by Reese Witherspoon that says, "Prepare to be scared, really scared." Well, I'm going to tell you what, Reese Witherspoon, I was not scared. I did like the book, but it was not scary. So let's get the fact stuff out of the way. Author Ruth Ware. The book has 308 pages, published in 2015, and it has a solid 4-star rating on Amazon and just over 3.5 rating on Goodreads. It's here on Movie Monday because Reese Witherspoon's production company is adapting it into a film. Now, I'm going to need Reese Witherspoon to calm down just a second, because if you remember correctly, she also adapted Gone Girl for film. And I'm not sure we've recovered from that shit yet. There's no word as of yet when In a Dark, Dark Wood will be released as a movie. In fact, IMDb still shows it as in development. The book opens very briefly with a snippet of an action scene where someone calling themselves I is running through the woods trying to catch up or get to someone named James. And then it's followed up by another even shorter snippet where that character, I, turns out to be Lenora, and she's kind of groggily coming to in a hospital, unsure of what has happened. Don't think you're going to get any answers right away, because then the book jumps into the get to know you phase. We learn that Lenora is a reclusive crime writer. She's very particular about her daily routine and about who she exposes herself to on a daily basis. Most of her communication takes place through email, so this woman is about as introverted as you can get. She receives an invitation to a bachelorette party for a friend that she hasn't spoken to in 10 years. So immediately, she's kind of curious why she's suddenly on the guest list. As the first few chapters roll around, you learn that Lenora and Claire, the bride-to-be, used to be best friends, but again, they haven't spoken in 10 years. Lenora ends up accepting the invitation to the bachelorette party, but only because of an I'll go if you go agreement that she made with a mutual friend. Pretty much then the book immediately jumps to Nora waking up in the hospital, injured, and being told that something has happened, and even overhearing that there's been a murder. Now, Nora has no clue what's going on. She has no clue how she got to the hospital, and she has absolutely no idea who the police are talking about. So the rest of the book is all about uncovering what the hell happened at this bachelorette party. And who hasn't woken up wondering that a time or two? The scariest part of this book is probably the first third, when the reader is left having no idea what's going on. Part of which is the setting of this creepy ass glass house in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods. If you ask me, the title plays a big part in the reader getting all jumpy because it is called In a Dark, Dark Wood, and that Halloween poem still creeps me out. I think that this book did have the potential to be very scary. The problem is, the writer has removed us from the incident. We know that Nora has gone to this bachelorette party and that something awful has happened, but we also know that we're sitting in a hospital right now with Lenora trying to remember what it was. So right then, we're removed from the action. We're immediately recognizing that we're only witnessing these things through Lenora's memories. To me, that's where the suspense goes away. I know Lenora is safe in the hospital. Whether she's a murderer or not, that's where she is. At the end of this book, which I can't talk about, the reader is present in the moment. However, we've sort of learned all there is to learn at that point, and I have a theory. The second you know who the bad guy is, it's no longer scary. That's true in every horror movie I've ever watched. It's true of every suspense or thriller or mystery book I've ever read. The whole part of being scared is not knowing who's out to get you. Another important note is that this book does leave you guessing until the very last second. Like the very last page almost. You can decide you know who did it and what happened, and then in 5 pages you will decide you're wrong. You will form another theory, and in another 10 pages you'll realize that one was wrong. It keeps going and going. You keep bouncing back and forth between each likely suspect and each likely victim, and in the end you're probably going to end up frustrated because you'd thought of it. It's definitely the strangest bachelorette party I've ever heard of in my life, even without the murder. The one truly annoying thing to me about this book is something I can't talk about, and that sucks. I will say this. Basically, there's a set of circumstances in this book that are completely derived from a huge misunderstanding, one that could be so easily avoided if people talk to each other. And I feel like I've said this before, if not in an already released video, then one that's probably coming up any day now. I can't stand it when something life-changing has happened to a character in a book because they didn't get their facts straight, or they didn't double check. Maybe it's just me, but this is an issue that I see a lot in new adult romances in particular, where there's some huge misunderstanding that creates all of this unnecessary conflict. I can't stand it. And honestly, it feels like a big cop-out where the writer is concerned. If you're basing your plot around something that could have easily been handled or cleared up or rectified with a conversation, I'm disappointed. And that is truly the one thing about this book that So what's good about this book? I know I'm making it sound like it's terrible, but it's really not. I do genuinely like this book. I enjoyed reading it, and it was full of suspense in the way that I had to keep guessing what had happened. It's interactive in that way, and the writing is done well. Let me engage in a little bit of Ruth Ware praise. So, I have no idea how many manuscripts she wrote before she sold one. This is Ruth Ware's debut novel. That means it's the first book that an agent or publisher has decided to represent and purchase. So that said, this book is phenomenal for somebody's first go. For that reason, I have mad respect for Ruth Ware, and I will probably read Ruth Ware again. Do I care to keep this particular book on my shelf so that I can read it again in 5 years? Probably not, but only because it didn't live up to the hype. I almost wish that I hadn't experienced any of that hype prior to reading it. There is a printed conversation with Ruth Ware in the back of this book, and again, just seeing some of her responses to questions makes me respect her. She admits to being heavily influenced by Agatha Christie and Sherlock Holmes, and by all means, those are the makings for great mysteries, great suspense. So I think Ruth Ware is going to be around for a while. Obviously, she has another book, The Woman in Cabin 10, which I think is gaining in notoriety and hype at this point. So those are my thoughts on In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I will leave links down below where you can find information as well as purchase the book. If you've already read In a Dark, Dark Wood, then I would love to know what you thought. Did you agree with me, disagree with me, or is there something I seem to have completely overlooked? Please leave those comments in the sections below. Keep in mind that the comment section of my reviews may contain spoilers, so if you want to keep this book a mystery, read those comments at your own risk. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Depending on the books that I finish, I post reviews on Movie Mondays, Rated R Thursdays, and Free Book Fridays, as well as monthly hauls, wrap-ups, TBRs, all kinds of stuff. You don't want to miss it, I promise. Thanks for watching and reading. I will see you all very soon.